What up, everyone? Welcome back to Knicks in 4, where we talk everything Knicks. I'm your host, Ayers. If you're new to the channel and you're enjoying what you're watching, please feel free to like, subscribe, share a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's get into it. So, I think the time has come for us to revisit the topic of RJ Barrett's future with the New York Knicks. Now, over the course of RJ Barrett's NBA career, he has been guilty of inconsistent play. We know that very well. But this has especially become more apparent recently in the last few games. So what we're going to do today is take a look at an article from postingandtoasting.com highlighting some of these concerns and discuss the question of whether or not we should consider trading RJ rather sooner than later. What is RJ Barrett's future with the Knicks? What should the young forward's role be moving forward? It's common thinking among NBA circles that a player's third year is when they show you who they will be for their career. We are in RJ Barrett's fourth year with the team, and the first after he was involved in Donovan Mitchell trade rumors and given an $107 million contract extension. Barrett has made incremental gains every year since he was taken third in the 2019 NBA draft. This season, he is averaging slightly better shooting efficiency numbers while maintaining the 20 points per game he averaged last season. But after his rightful fourth quarter and overtime benching in the loss to the Los Angeles Lakers, his role moving forward is in question. So Matthew Miranda and I started a conversation about Barrett's potential role with the team while analyzing his growth with the Knicks under Tom Thibodeau. Now, one thing that we need to discuss first is his production and his progress over the course of these 4 years. Now, as the article points out, RJ has made incremental progress since year 1 to year 2 to year 3. And while his efficiency numbers, as I've just read off, have slightly improved, one thing that is quite glaring is the fact that he has seemed to regress on the defensive end. Now, this is quite evident if you're paying close attention watching any of these Knicks games. Anytime RJ Barrett is on any opposing player on the perimeter, they just seem to blow right past him. Again, I've had my concerns. I've mentioned this before, but RJ Barrett is very slow. I mean, when I'm watching him at times, it almost feels like someone hit the slow motion button, because when he's moving in real time, it doesn't look like he's moving at the speed as these other guys. And, one other thing in terms of his development, I haven't really seen him evolve. Forget about just, defending guys, being able to stay in front of guys. When you're developing in the league, you start picking up on, certain trends, certain concepts. And it seems to me that he hasn't learned yet. He hasn't evolved yet, open that part of his game to be able to read defenses. I mean, part of playing defense is seeing something happen, seeing something about to happen before it actually happens. And he always seems to be a foot slow, a brain cell late to what's going to happen. And as a result, players are running circles around him, and he's constantly been a liability out there. But continuing on, whiny Knicks apologists constantly point to his age 22 as an excuse for why he has not developed at the rate of some of us would like. But I counter with Barrett being placed as a starter since his rookie year and having the second most touches and play calling given to him in the last 4 years, second only to Randall. He has been guarding opposing starters, many of the best players in the game, and given a high usage and high minute allocation, yet consistently plateaued as a defender and scorer. I do not think there is another level to Barrett's game. This is who he is, and we must either learn to be okay with it and build around his deficiencies, or be willing to include him in trade negotiations for a star down the road. That's not to say he's not a very good player with many strengths. He is just not what we envision as the third pick in the draft. Now, going back to the draft, it's a lot of pressure on RJ Barrett, not just being the number 3 pick in the 2019 draft, but coincidentally being behind two guys in particular that are definitely superstars in the making. If you want to call them superstars, fine, but Zion Williamson, obviously, with the Pelicans, and Ja Morant, obviously, with the Memphis Grizzlies. And both of those guys are thriving right now. Now, Grizzlies, obviously, are a top contending team in the West. The Pelicans have fallen off over the last couple of months, but we know Zion is what was advertised as, despite his troubles with injury history. And when we look at RJ, he's not even close on the same level as both of those guys. Now, is that fair to compare him to those guys? No, but if we're going to judge RJ and just give him a pass just because of his age, yeah, 22 is young, right? There's no denying that. But 4 years in the league is not. So 4 years in the league, despite being his age, he is at 22 right now, I don't use that as an excuse. He's been around and played around these guys to the point where he should know what to expect. And there is no more learning curve, right? He is a senior in high school. This is his 4th year. So I'm not about to entertain the excuses of, oh, he's young. Maybe that was a legitimate excuse in his 2nd or 3rd year. But this being his 4th year, I'm not really buying it. And, in terms of his play time, this is something that has been something to look out after these last few games. But let's continue on. RJ's Clark Kent-like statistical dullness may be hiding the Superman underneath. Look at the roles he's been given so far. His rookie year, he took fewer shots per 36 than Randle and fewer than Marcus Morris. 2. His second season, Randle's hypothesis, the shot disparity was even greater. Plus, rookie Quickly and newly acquired Derrick Rose took more shots than RJ. Hell, even Elfrid Payton averaged the same numbers of attempts as Barrett. Last year was the anomaly. The year RJ led the team in shot attempts and there was no third banana to split the monopoly. This year, Randle and Brunson are tied for the most shot attempts, with Barrett third. There aren't really any statistical significant patterns that emerge. Maybe that's his cape peeking out. Now, with all of that being said, clearly, again, Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle are the 2 best players on his team, and the offense is going to carry through them, rightfully so, right? You put the ball in Jalen Brunson's hands, he's the most trustable guy on the floor. He can score in the clutch. We know that about Jalen. So naturally, you're going to give the ball to him. Obviously, he's the point guard. The ball should be in his hands. Julius Randle has been doing this since he's been in this with this team, and we know what he's capable of doing at night in and night out. So obviously, the ball is going to go towards them. And when you're looking at RJ Barrett, RJ Barrett is the third banana in this trio, but he's almost as if a distant third at this point. And it's hard to trust him. Now, going back to what was mentioned in the article prior about his playing time and Tibbs actually deciding to bench him in certain games, we've been seeing this happen quite often a lot lately. In the LA game, tonight even against, well, that wasn't tonight. It was the last game against, I believe it was Philly. We've seen RJ get pulled out for significant periods of the 4th quarter. And why is this happening? Why is your, 3rd overall pick that you just invested in another 4-year extension with, who's supposed to be the guy? Why is he being benched in these situations? He can't be trusted. He can't defend. He can't be relied on to hit open shots. As much as I would love to just sit here and praise RJ, I have to call it like I see it. And I'll be honest with you, anytime I'm watching the Knicks play and RJ, whether he's open or not, doesn't matter. He pulls up and takes a 3. I'm just expecting it to brick. And 9 times out of 10, I'm right. So he can't be trusted to make knockdown shots. And he's a liability out there in crucial moments. Now, this is going to be an even worse situation given the fact that we have Josh Hart out there now. So if you were worried about Quentin Grimes taking away RJ's minutes in crucial moments, you haven't seen anything yet with what Josh Hart is about to do. I mean, against the victory that we just came out against the Jazz, in his first game, hell of a game he had, Josh Hart. I believe he had somewhere between 25, 27 minutes played. And while RJ had a good second half in this game, and he was playing down the stretch, don't be surprised if you see Josh Hart replacing RJ in future games. This is something that I won't be shocked at all. And if this is going to continue to happen, then we really have to ask ourselves, is it time that we start considering moving RJ away? Now, what we're going to do here is have a little bit of fun, right? Because, while all of this is happening, RJ is struggling. He has a good game. He doesn't have a good game. Rumors are swirling all around out there. So what we're going to do now is take a look at a couple of trade proposals that I'm proposing. I'll play the GM. I'll put on the GM hat for now. Now, again, some of these proposals may be outrageous in terms of they may never happen, but as a person who always liked math in school, I'm going to do some calculations for you and come up with a trade idea that I think will work. And I'm going to tell you in a little bit why. Now, drum roll. Who is the player that the Knicks should go after if we're entertaining trading away RJ Barrett? Now, if you look at the Western Conference, The Western Conference obviously emerged recently with the Phoenix Suns being the favorites to come out of the West. And of course, you have other teams. You have Kyrie that just was added to Dallas. You have Ja with the Grizzlies. You have Zion with the Pelicans, and a few other teams sprinkled here and around in the West. But if you ask me, the team that looks like it's on the end out is the Clippers. And that brings me to my first trade proposal, one of two, and that is making a play at Kawhi Leonard. Now, hear me out. Hear me out. Why would the Clippers want to do this trade? I'll tell you why. Knowing that they pretty much have no chance at this point winning a championship with Kevin Durant coming to the West, Kyrie Irving coming to the West, the Lakers getting a little bit better, Denver having Jamal Murray back healthy and being the number one seed. Where do the Clippers fit into this mix of great teams and great rosters? I don't see it. And let alone they failed to make it years past. So if it's going to be more difficult to make it anywhere going forward, what's the incentive to hold on to these guys? And at this point, I think RJ is the odd man out if we're talking about guys that are expected to be a part of this team moving forward that will really propel this team into the next direction. And if you ask me, I think this New York Knicks team, to be honest with you, maybe a few other minor moves here and there, but especially with Josh Hart on the team, I believe we are an elite small forward away from being almost a championship contender. If you insert Kawhi Leonard, just imagine this for a moment. Imagine a lineup of Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, or Grimes, but I would prefer Josh Hart, and that starting lineup if we bring Kawhi there. Kawhi Leonard, Julius Randle, and Mitchell Robinson. You can't tell me, at least in the Eastern Conference, keep in mind, just in the Eastern Conference, you can't tell me that that's not a championship contender. Philly is about to, drop down. Boston is always going to be good, but I don't know. It seems like to me that Boston is a team that can be got. And of course, you got Giannis with the Bucks, but for how long will that team hold up, right? If you put Kawhi Leonard on that roster with the guys I just mentioned, instant championship contender. And now let's look at Kawhi's contract, right? Now, Kawhi is due $42 million this year, and he's on the books for 2 more years. So we will be trading away RJ for pretty much a 2-year rental, at least for the time being, assuming that he would, have the player option to re-sign with us for the second year. But at this point, if I'm under the belief that RJ Barrett is not going to progress or hit another level of his game, then I'm going to look to move off of him, especially if I can get a guy in Kawhi Leonard. Now, obviously, Kawhi is a guy that really can't be trusted, injury prone. Sometimes he doesn't look like he's fully engaged with the game or the team altogether. But that's a risk I'm willing to take. Now, you see what Toronto did. Toronto took a risk. They went after Kawhi. They gave away some pieces, and they won a championship, right? Now, if the Knicks pulled off this move, again, this is just a hypothetical situation, I can honestly see with Kawhi Leonard this team being a championship contender. Now, one other trade proposal is the same team, the Clippers, and I'm taking a look at Paul George as well. Again, bring an elite small forward to this team, which is what we're lacking. Both of these players are leapfrogs way better than RJ Barrett, and I think this is something that we should entertain. If I were the Knicks brass, I would be on the phone. Even if this is something that maybe the Clippers are just not ready to just, accept the fact that they're, going to move off of these guys. But they're not winning anything with the West right now. So why not try to benefit from moving one of those guys, bringing back a couple of players? I'll talk about what I include in the trade to get a Paul George or Kawhi Leonard. Now is the time. You got to strike while the iron is hot. Now, in terms of what would that trade package look like, right? So Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are actually making the same amount of money, right? 42 this year, 45 next year, and 48 in the last year of their contract. So let's do a little bit of math and do a little bit of calculating here in terms of what would that potential package look like. Now, as I mentioned in the past, I've been a proponent of let's package some of these picks. We have a lot. We have a boatload of picks. We got to start moving and we got to start taking advantage. Now, this move, what I would think would benefit both teams tremendously is if you include, again, for either Kawhi Leonard or Paul George, I would include RJ Barrett, who is set to make $23 million next year. I would include Obi Toppin. I'm going to make a video in the next few days about Obi's Toppin's days being numbered. As much as I like the kid, we all know it's a wrap for him. So RJ Barrett making 23 next year. Obi Toppin making 6. And Derrick Rose making, where's D Rose? Making 15 next year, right? That totals up to guess how much? 45 mil. And to make the deal even sweeter, because obviously the Clippers wouldn't pull that deal just by doing a swap of players. They want draft picks. Now, they gave away a ton of draft picks to bring in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. So draft picks is something that they would love to get their hands on. Now is the time to unload these picks. Now, we've seen Rudy Gobert go for, 5 or 6 picks. I'm talking about a deal of RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin, Derrick Rose, and 4 to 5 protected with maybe a 1 unprotected first-round pick. So you're talking about a total of 4 to 5 picks, most of them being protected, maybe just 1 being unprotected. That's a deal I'm willing to entertain. So we have to ask ourselves, are we going to consider holding on to RJ at this point? Because I don't know. It doesn't look like he has that it factor. When I see him out there, he often looks confused. He's late on reading the defense. Players blow right past him. He's missing easy passes. Even this game tonight against Utah, Obi Toppin was wide open, and RJ Barrett, for whatever reason, doesn't see the guy. Obi's jumping up and down, upset obviously because he didn't get the ball. But it's like moments like that where it's like he's not reading the game quick enough. And in order for this team to make it to the next level, I think this is a move. This is the move that we have been waiting to make. Now, obviously, we missed out on Donovan Mitchell. I would have loved to have a Donovan Mitchell, especially in retrospect. But if we're talking about, again, bringing in a Paul George or Kawhi Leonard, obviously you have guys like OG Anunoby, which may probably be a cheaper proposition in terms of the packaging for a deal. I don't know, guys. I think this is something that I would be willing to do. I think I would be willing to take the risk. Get those guys for 2 years, maybe possibly extend them if, depending on what happens later and towards the end of those 2 contracts. But again, I'm willing to entertain it. But that's going to be the end of the video, guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think we should actually consider moving RJ now rather than later. What do you think about this trade proposal of mine? As ridiculous and as far-fetched as it may be, maybe the Clippers just hang up the phone regardless of the fact that they have no confidence in winning a championship at this point. Or, do you think we should just hold on to RJ and just, play with the hand that we've been dealt? Hopefully he develops into a much better player. But let me know what you guys think in the comment box. That's going to be all for today. Catch you on the rebound. Peace.